there's a bunch of terms in there that I think the average person like myself might shake my head and be like, yeah, sure, yeah, private equity, yeah. But nobody
Yeah.
really nobody that's not in the inside of that or worked on the law side of that knows what the hell this is. So just defining some terms that get thrown a lot, venture capital, private equity, like U.S. based, LATAM. Can you explain? Maybe we just start with private equity. What does that even mean, and why is that beneficial for people in Colombia to have somebody like you to find U.S. dollars, and how would it be beneficial for somebody like me in the U.S. to invest in a country I'm probably not going to go to, and sure as hell not going to get out there to inspect the coffee fields, right? Like, what
Right.
does private equity mean? What's venture capital, and like how does all that stuff play together? Like, what is it, and what's the why?
Our model is basically build businesses from scratch or find interesting opportunities and invest our own money into those businesses. So, coffee, we basically started back in 2017 with nothing but an idea of creating a cash flowing alternative real estate project for traditionally commercial real estate investors. Since that point, we've seen basically that there is no ceiling to growth and how public markets might respond to the business if we get to a public exit someday. But our model has always been based around bring capital from the US markets outside of Colombia and disrupt industries here in Colombia that are ripe for disruption. And everybody thinks Colombian coffee, it's kind of known globally, I would say. But what they don't realize is basically the nascency from a sophistication perspective of the market, the capital that's coming in. We've brought in about 180 investors for a total of just over $20 million to date. And we've grown to be one of the top three producers in the country. So the thesis and the theme behind what we're doing has always been for a relatively modest sum of capital, you can be a major player in a major industry in a country that values kind of the spaces that we're in without having any limitations in terms of exits, getting to an IPO in the US. Everything we do is US structured. So you'd have the same basically upside and potential as you would if you were investing in a US domestic.
So
Our thought is open new opportunities.
I'm trying to think through this because Colombia, I'm imagining coffee production is one of their biggest businesses, right?
Yeah, it's the declared national product of the country.
Okay, so I'm thinking of any big business. If you wanted to come to America and start something to rival a Walmart or an Apple or a Nike or
Yeah.
something like that, the idea that you could be the number 3 player in a big boy business in America for 20 million, you might not be able to do it for 20 billion. Like,
Right.
so is that the trade-off where investors, hey, there might be more risk investing overseas, more boom and bust, more government involvement. Like I said, I can't come down there and exactly inspect the coffee plants. But for the amount of capital that I'm guessing the 180 people have been able to invest, there's got to be a bigger, I don't want to use the term lotto ticket thesis, but there's got to be a bigger
Yeah.
exit strategy thesis than, I can invest here in Nike in the United States and maybe make a 3% dividend and a couple percent growth over a decade. So is that the good news for U.S. investors, that there's just a better return multiple if you do your job right?
Yep. I would call them levers, are basically higher returns and also access. To your initial point, if you want to participate in any kind of substantial agriculture investment in the US, you're either competing directly against Bill Gates, who's buying most of the farmland in the US. You need capital that is going to be interesting to Wall Street banks who are looking for a placement the size you might be making. Huge valuations going on in agriculture in the US right now. By comparison, our average investor places 150,000 to 250,000 with us, access that they might not be able to buy at that dollar level in the US. And we compensate that by also having a higher return profile. For example, we just completed our Series B funding round of $10 million here in Colombia. all of the investors in that round are expecting 7x on their money into 2025 as we get to a sale of the business or an IPO. That's obviously going to beat substantially any kind of return you're going to get on an agricultural REIT in the US or anything that's a kind of cap rate based asset.
Yeah. And what's the, because investors have to be thinking about this. What's the risk of ruin? Like, what's the thing that happens where instead of 7x in 2024, there's a regulatory change or there's a this change or, Adam Jason missed the mark and it's like, well, now my 150 is worth zero. Because I'm imagining if the upside potential is 7x, there has to be some greater than zero chance that the downside is zero. So what